Very happy to be joined this morning by journalist Ken Klippenstein, who may have just gotten himself in trouble with the FBI yet again. Ken, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, guys. Good to be back.
So effectively, Ken, you decided to publish some leaked U.S. intelligence documents, which were assessing Israel's likely response to Iran, which we're still waiting to see what they have in store, and there's been a big public debate about that. First, talk to us. Here's the piece that you posted on Substack. Israel preps for strike on Iran. Top secret leak reveals. Read the U.S. intelligence reports. The media won't publish. So there's a lot about this that is quite significant, including what is actually in the documents themselves. But just talk to us a little bit about your decision to go ahead and publish these documents, which is a move that other mainstream outlets have not taken.
Yeah, so I got a copy of this from my friend early on Thursday, and I thought to myself, oh, well, this is already circulating on social media. This will be up in a matter of time. And by Friday morning, I realized not only have the documents not been published in any major media outlet, the media hadn't even talked about it then. And it wasn't until that afternoon, this was like more than 24 hours after it had been circulating, that Axios had the first story on it. Barak Ravid, a reporter who's very close to the White House. And what's interesting is in his report, they just describe, I call it, trust us journalism. Like, here's what it says. You don't have to see it. They didn't publish the underlying intelligence reports. Mm-hmm. Subsequent to that, virtually every major media outlet has now reported on it. It became impossible to ignore after the Axios story, and I published it a few minutes after Axios. None of the other outlets, not one, has published the underlying intelligence report. And the reason that matters is because you're forced to sort of rely on the media's paraphrase, not just the accuracy of it, but even assuming that they have the best of intentions and they're not too close to the White House, like I think Barak Ravid is, but just that they would understand what the general public is interested in, and just by pure accident, maybe they don't. And I think the reporting on this shows that they don't know because they're getting key facts about it wrong. So, for example, the intelligence reports come from what's called the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which deals with satellite imagery and analysis. It's been reported in both CNN and Reuters. I'm not making this up. You can go look it up. That this was from they mentioned this coming from the NSA, which is factually untrue.
Totally
which shows you the problem with not giving people the underlying records. Media ends up repeating each other, and it becomes an echo chamber, and they're not able to check the underlying facts because nobody has the source material.
Get to the source material then, Ken. What can we learn from it exactly? I just saw the write-up around what the potential sites and all of that could look like. Can you lay that out for the audience?
Yeah, what this shows is that despite all the happy talk about our ironclad relationship with Israel and how we have total trust, so on and so forth, we are spying on each other aggressively. And it's not just the satellite intelligence. It is human intelligence, spies. It is cyber intelligence. It's all sorts of different things to paint a mosaic picture of what Israel is up to, because we can't take them at their word. We don't take any nation state at its word, but in the context of the conflict that you guys were just describing in the previous segment, the stakes are really high. And so it becomes important to look at not just what are the officials saying and what are they saying to us in private, but to look at their military exercises. They were doing mid-air refuel exercises, which is what you would need to do if you were going to strike Iran, because the distance from Tel Aviv from Israel is far enough that they couldn't make it with one fuel tanker. And so you're looking at a bunch of different characteristics: military readiness, special operations. This stuff is really complicated, and so it shows that we, the U.S. intelligence community, the Pentagon, is looking at every one of these domains that might be indicative of an Israeli move. And I think what this should show you is this stuff is complex, and it's not as straightforward as perhaps Biden suggested when they asked him. I said, do you know about what Israel is going to do? He goes, yes and yes. There are all kinds of different factors you have to look at to try to make that judgment. And that puts us in a dangerous position because it's not a straightforward question about if we know what they're going to do or not.
The news outlets, all of them, who chose not to publish these documents, have they given any rationale for that decision? And what do you think that their rationale would be? Do you think part of it is just like, when I look at these documents, they require some understanding of underlying lingo, et cetera, to really make sense of them. So you have to be somewhat of an expert to really glean much from them. Do you think that maybe they just have the sense like, oh, the general public isn't really going to understand these documents anyway, so we need to encapsulate for them what it is and what it means?
Yeah, well, I don't have a problem with them explaining what the significance is because, as you say, these are very technical documents. They have all kinds of notations and markings on them that are not something that the naked eye is going to that an ordinary person is going to know what it means. But the problem is they're getting it wrong. I mean, I just looked at the Times write-up. You could see a number of factual errors in it. And as with science, the best thing for discourse is to have it openly so that we can check each other's errors. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. But when you don't put that underlying record out there, then that conversation becomes difficult to have because people are going off of something that not everyone can see. So to answer your question, what was their rationale? In two cases, there were admirably frank mentions in, I think it was CNN's article and ABC News's article, where they say, we are not publishing the underlying documents. And in both cases, they went a step further. They said, we are not even going to quote directly from them. What that says to me is that they're saying, oh, look how responsible we are. And that's an unhealthy place for the media to be, to see itself as an adjunct of the national security state. I don't think it means I don't care about the country that I'm publishing these things. My own view is it's already out there, guys. I mean, anyone can see it on Twitter. It's like we're engaged in this theater of acting like, oh, by withholding this, somehow we're helping the secrecy, we're helping the task of the U.S. military, which is just absurd. So I think that all of this is an outgrowth of what I talked about last time I was on the show, about the J.D. Vance dossier, and the media's perception that it is deputized into some kind of national security responsibility on the part of the federal government, which I think is really unhealthy for the media to see itself as.
Yeah, I remember, so when we had the Discord leaks, that was another thing. Is you were getting to it very much what you talked about. We settled on quoting from them because I think, like you said, that's very important. At that time, there was still like some consternation around whether that would have actually like endangered troops, because it wasn't as public as the one you're talking about. But as you said, if it's actually 100% out there, it's out there, and it's not just media outlets that have it, then you're not doing anybody any favors by just towing the line for the national security state. That's what I think is really important.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you can tell the media, they just don't want to talk about this stuff. I mean, it was more than 24 hours after this thing was already circulating that we know of, before they even had the first report just vaguely mentioning it.
Yeah.
My editor and I were able to verify the authenticity of it based on the source in the intelligence community within about several hours. And, I hope I don't have better sources than the New York Times and the Washington Post, because we're in real trouble if those guys just don't have anybody. So I'm guessing they could have done this all more quickly, but it seems like there was only any motion after my story and Axios's story came out, and it sort of became untenable to pretend it wasn't happening anymore. But this view that the media is separate from the rest of the public that's seeing this stuff unfold on social media is just indicative of this, very unhealthy self-image that I think that the press has.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit about where these documents came from. We could put F2 up on the screen. The U.S. apparently investigating the leak of these documents. And, I also think that this reveals a little bit, too, because it's obviously not that the New York Times and Washington Post never publish leaks out of the national security state. It's just usually those leaks are authorized leaks of things that those groups want out to the public. But because you have this as an unauthorized leak, something that these agencies, find to be embarrassing to put out there because, it reveals what we think of these planes. It also reveals, as you said, that even with this close ally, we're still having to spy on them to figure out what the heck that they're up to. Just speak a little bit to that and the response here where they're launching this investigation and try to figure out who leaked these documents, and if you have any insight into how high level the individual would have to be to have gained access to these documents.
My understanding is that, I don't think this has been reported yet, is that the sense of the investigators is that this must have been a relatively low-level individual, similar to Jack Tertiera, the U.S. airman that was responsible for the Discord leaks. That's kind of the preliminary assessment right now. But certainly the view that this was an insider within the U.S. intelligence community. I've seen a lot of speculation about, where this might have come from. I mentioned before some of the errors in reporting. I've seen again and again it asserted that the possibility that this was from an Iranian hack, which is absurd because these are top secret documents which live on a system called JWICS, the U.S. military intelligence system, which is air gapped. So by definition, it couldn't have been hacked. It's not connected to the internet. And that's something you can tell at a glance. Anyone who understands how the top secret system works knows that these things are put in SCIFs, secure compartmented information facilities that are not in any way connected to the internet that you have to physically go into a vault to look at that's cordoned off from the rest of the world. So the fact that the media is getting these very basic facts wrong is both embarrassing and a reminder of how important it is to be vetting the records that their claims are based on, because this is elementary stuff. I'm not trying to just ding them on the errors that invariably occur when you're reporting on something in real time. That's unavoidable. But to to say this is an Iranian hack just misunderstands the very basis of how the U.S. intelligence system even works.
Well said.
Ken, thank you so much for sharing with us your reporting. Tell people how they can follow you and support your work.
We run a Substack, and that's at kenklippenstein.substack.com.
Excellent.
Always great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, man.
Good luck with that next visit from the FBI.
You
and that guy. You and that guy are going to be buddies.
It's fine.
Yep, I'll put out some coffee for him.
You got to record it. That's
exactly. I got to get a ring camera this time. So
just memorize lawyer. I have nothing to say.
Listen, I just have to say you have some balls, my friend, and I really respect the hell out of you for it. So, all right, take care, Ken. We'll see you soon.
Bye, all.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.